And welcome back to Lard TV, where we are here once again with Mark Backhouse to talk to him about Strength and Honour, and we are continuing with our series, and we've reached the point now where we've got our command boards ready. We know about our forces, we know what we've got, and we're going to start getting them on the table ready for action. But it's not just a case of dumping your stuff on the table, is it? It's a case of actually having a game structure in place that we're going to be looking at. But before that, we actually thought we'd fight an historical refight, and this is a scenario that's going to be included in the rulebook itself. So Mark, why don't you tell us all about where we are today?
Okay, so today we're going to be in Gaul or France in the year 58 BC. This is going to recreate the Battle of Bibracte. Inside it, Julius Caesar's forces have gone to the assistance of a local Gallic tribe, the Aedui tribe. And they've come to Rome with concerns that another tribe coming from Switzerland, the Helvetii, have started to migrate into their territory. Caesar has answered that call there, and he's sent out his legions to try and protect the Aedui from the Helvetii tribe. Initially, they had some success. They managed to stop the initial advances of some of the different tribes, but then they attempted to surround and attack the Helvetii tribe, and it all went a bit horribly wrong. So Julius Caesar's strategy hadn't quite gone to plan. They thought they'd surrounded the Helvetii, and they were all in preparation to attack them from two different sides, but then the reports from the scouts came back saying that the flanking force had been destroyed. Right. Actually, it was a false alarm. So Caesar's attempt to surround the Helvetii had failed, and therefore he decided he had to start withdrawing back to Bibracte. Bibracte was the capital city of the Aedui tribe, and he had to withdraw there because he was running short of grain. The Helvetii, believing that they'd won the encounter now, were going to start following them up and chase them down to engage them. So just about 10 miles outside of Bibracte, Caesar's forces have stopped on this great big huge hill. They've started building their camp, and they've lined themselves up ready for battle. The Helvetii are going to be coming from the other direction, and they're going to be trying to smash the Roman forces that they believe are demoralised and are unable to stop them now. So let's see how the battle goes.
So, talk to us about the battlefield. How do things work? What do we need when we're setting up a game?
Okay, so a typical table could be anywhere between your standard sort of kitchen table size of maybe 2.5 foot by 4.5 foot, and it'll quite happily play a decent sized game on that. But we thought we might as well take advantage of the beautiful gaming room inside Lard Island, and we're playing a rather luxurious size of a 6 foot by 4 foot table here. You could play a little bit larger, but honestly, this will feel like a battlefield about 1.5 miles across for the actual combatants playing inside it. More than enough inside a small scale for a really epic battle to take place. You'll notice that the table itself, if you go close up, is divided up into small squares. And these small squares denote how the battlefield is broken down. This is a game without rulers and without measurements inside it. So we're playing on this grid system. To denote where the squares are, very simply, I've used a black ball's pen, and I've put dots inside the corner of every other square. And it's very, very simple for us then to be able to move units around without measuring them, but getting a sense of where things are on the tabletop. Each unit will take up 2 squares on the tabletop, 2 next door to one another. So across our tabletop size here, which is 6 foot across, we're going to have somewhere in the region of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 squares across it. And it's by 16 deep. Okay, so you could play with any size squares you wanted to. But specifically, that sort of matches up quite nicely, 16 by 24.
So if we were playing in a different scale, you could either take one of these bases. What size is this base?
So this base is 12 centimetres by 6 centimetres.
Okay, so you could take that and actually represent your legion with a unit of maybe 24, 15 mil figures, if that's how you felt like doing. With the smaller scale, obviously you get a much better visual impression of the cohorts and maniples within that. within the formations, depending on what period you're operating in.
And our squares on the table are all 75mm squared.
Right.
So 2 of those then make up the units of size there. So it's exactly the same basis you might find in some other popular rule sets, like for example impetus. So if you've already got impetus armies lined up, you could play it straight away.
Right. Okay. Good. Right. So let's talk about how deployment occurs. We've got a deployment area on the table, which you've marked out here. And if we go through to this shot here, that's giving us a better idea of exactly where the deployment areas are. Now, how does that work? Am I restricted to deploying all of my force within that area?
Well, not entirely, no. What happens is you take it in turns to allocate units down within your deployment area. Once you've placed those units down, each successive unit then needs to be placed in direct contact with the previous unit on your side that was placed down. Effectively, this forms, bless you, a line of battle, imagining that an army is deployed as the camp and formed itself up inside one body there. If you want to, you can go forward past the frontal plane of the deployment zone. But what you can't do in the initial deployment part of the battle is enter into the flanking zones, and they're placed on either wing of the army. That still should give us, though, plenty of room to deploy inside if we choose to.
Yeah. So if I want to be aggressive, I can actually start with my first unit in here and then start deploying forward from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But in doing so, by advancing further forward, you're actually going to limit the width of your army, which is dangerous because it means that potentially your flanks are more vulnerable.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So, how are we going to deploy for this particular action?
Well, inside this particular action, the Gauls, the Helvetii, are going to be deploying first, and they're going to place down their first unit, and then the Romans then are going to reciprocate by placing down their first unit as well. The Gauls have got a slight advantage inside this particular scenario, and they've also got a ruse. They've got a flanking attack that's going to take place later into the game, and we're going to see what happens when they try to emerge onto the table on one of your flanks, Richard. So you're aware that there's an army potentially moving around the flank, 10, 15,000 warriors who aren't seen, but you've spotted them somewhere with your scouts, but you're not quite sure where they are. So be prepared and ready for that just in case.
I shall be prepared. Okay. So here we are, we're ready. What do we put down first? It's the camp, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to put down our baggage or our camps first of all.
Yeah.
So I've got my wagon lager, and I'm going to place it well away from where you are, Richard. I'm going to place it onto this strategic hilltop over here, and I'm going to be placing it within 2 squares, because of course everything is grid based.
Yeah.
Over here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to place my camp, and I've got to protect this. This is important to me. So I'm going to put my camp over here.
Okay. Right then, it's now time for me to put down my first unit, and I need to think carefully about what I've got. 2 of my warband units are going to be coming on as a flanking force later inside the game. So I'm going to start off by placing down some of my warriors. These are warriors from the Lato Trige tribe, and I'm going to place them over here in front of my camp on the left flank of my line. I place them as far forward as I can go within the deployment zone.
They don't have to be in contact with your camp.
They don't, no. That's the only one unit that doesn't have to be in contact with the camp.
Okay. So I'm going to put one of my inexperienced legions, my raw legions, right here, adjacent to the camp. I'm choosing to keep them at the back.
Okay. So which legion are they? The 12th legion there. Good. Okay. With my next unit then, I'm going to be placing down a second warband unit, this time the Tigurini tribe. And I'm going to break the frontal plane of my deployment zone.
Right.
And I'm going to deploy them as far forward as possible.
So you're able to push forward because you're in contact with a unit that deployed within.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm not going to do anything quite that clever, but I'm putting my other inexperienced legionary unit there next door to that one.
Smashing stuff. Right then, the next unit then I'm going to place down has got to touch onto the Tigurini unit that I last put down. So I'm going to place those to the right of the Tigurini, my Roraki tribesmen here, another warband. So far I've put down some in the region of about 15 to 20,000 Gallic warriors over here already, and you've put down 10,000 or so.
Not now. 15,000. I'll raise you.
What are they, Richard? Which unit have you put
that is, they're good legion, but they're not the best. So they're regular legionary forces.
So the experienced 7th Legion.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, right then, coming down there now, I'm going to place more Helvetii warriors and Tigurini warriors, and I'm going to place them now down behind my Raki over here.
Right, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place a unit of skirmishers, but I'm actually going to place them diagonally forward. Now they're still in contact because each of these units contains 2 squares, and so this is adjacent in that square, and they are coming forward to there. They're breaking that frontal line because they're my skirmishers.
Okay, so I'm piling up here in depth here. Traditionally, the Romans tended to fight in sort of single legion depth.
Yeah.
So by Richard deploying 2 legions, one behind the other, he's effectively creating a huge new reserve there for his force. Right, and my last unit I placed down was the Tigurini warband here at the back. So I'm now going to place down my Helvetii warriors. These are placed next door to them over here.
Okay, and I'm actually going to put my next experienced legion back adjacent to that one by going back diagonally.
Okay, I'm now going to put down my best troops, my Helvetii Superior Warband, my veteran troops, the best troops in the force, well armoured, well armed, ready to do some real mischief, I'm hoping.
Okay, well I'm going large now and putting down one of my veteran legions.
Ah, the 9th.
Yeah.
All the way from Spain. Right then. Okay, I'm going to now place a unit of skirmishers to support my right flank over here and support the Helvetii Superior Warband. So they're going to give me a slightly longer line than you currently. The problem is now you've got a bit of a problem in that you're going the wrong way now with your deployment.
Yeah.
And I've got this nice wood on my side over here to protect my flank.
Yeah.
Hopefully it can give me a bit of breathing space. What are you going to do next, Richard?
Right, okay. Well, I'm actually putting my 10th Legion over here.
Oh my gosh, that's a strong right wing. Okay. Well, at this point, it looks like I'm going to be able to flank you quite nicely. So I'm going to place down another unit of Helvetii cavalry then over here on the right wing. I'm hoping that now I know Richard's deploying from this side, he's got to connect something onto his 10th Legion. I should be able to hook around to the right.
Okay, well I'm putting my skirmishers there and they're going out in front of the 10th Legion.
I've got to really watch out for that left wing on my side because that's a very, very strong right hook there. The question is, where should I put my cavalry? Do I keep going wide? Yeah, I think I do. Or do I keep going deep? Yeah, I think I'm going to keep going wide for the moment. So my last unit of Helvetii cavalry are going to come around here on the right flank. So hopefully that's a real threat for Richard's legions, and I think that camp and his raw legions might need to deploy out wider.
Well, I've got one unit and I don't actually want to put it over here. Now the rules say that I have to move it adjacent to one of the other units I've already deployed on the table, but I'm actually going to use one of my strategy dice. I chose to have one strategy dice, and that's going to allow me to break the chain of where I'm deploying and start deploying again anywhere within my deployment zone. So I'm actually going to put it wide over here on that flank that's my Roman cavalry who are moving right out there to try and cover that flank, but also threaten the enemy's flank.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. But it covers your flank quite nicely, and it will give me something to think about, that's for sure. I've still got 2 more units, and they're going to come as a flanking force later on. So for the moment, I'm going to keep those off the table. So now we've deployed all our main units inside the game, we've got 2 more things to consider. The first thing is we've got to think about how we use our skirmishers. Richard's got 2 skirmishing units, his Numidians, and his Edoui local skirmishers who are supporting his force. He can choose to use them as one big formed mass if he likes, and that would be maybe 1,500 slingers and javelin men all in one body. They're a fast moving unit, but they don't have a great deal of punching power. That said, they're very useful for grabbing key pieces of terrain and supporting the flanks of the army. So Richard's got a choice now if he wants to deploy them as fully organised big groups of skirmishers, or if he wants to, he can organise them as skirmish lines. Skirmish lines mean we would remove one of these bases and we'd replace them with 4 skirmish lines of infantry who can either support the units that they touch, or they can be placed back to guard the camp over here. So, Richard, would you like to choose one of your units of skirmishers?
Yeah.
Do you want to keep them as a skirmish unit?
No, I don't, because
Skirmish
these
lines.
guys are actually going to support the 2 legions here, the 2 experienced legions here. So I'm going to place 1 strip of skirmishers at the front of both of them, and another one at the rear who are ready to move up. This is obviously, they're not necessarily at the rear, they could well be in there in between the other cohorts that are there. Yeah, I'm definitely using those like that. This unit out here on my right, I want to maintain as a large body of skirmishers, because I want them to go forward and seize those woods.
Okay. So on my side then, I've got 1 unit of skirmishers, and at the moment they're sort of joining up together between my line of infantry and my cavalry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my Gallic skirmishers can't support the cavalry inside combat. If I had German skirmishers or Spanish or Numidians, they could,
right.
but the Gauls weren't really trained to fight intermix with their cavalry.
Sure.
So I could only really support then the 2 units beside me, the 2 other warband. I'm a bit worried that I'm facing some pretty tough opposition. It's very tempting to try and strengthen them with skirmish lines too. But I think actually I'd prefer to have them on the flank there, and hopefully I'm going to try and turn Richard's left flank and try and really push hard on my right and see if I can envelop his force. Hopefully that gives me enough here to clear out the way his Roman cavalry earlier on and bring my troops around the side of his force on this wing.
Okay, well, we shall see.
So for the second final thing we've got to do, we've got to think about where our generals are going to be placed. These are going to have an influence over the unit that they're in contact with and attached to. During the game they can move, but they only exert a limited influence over the unit that they're with, except if they're using some of the strategy command board features. So, Richard, you've got Julius Caesar, JC, the big man himself.
Not that JC.
No,
he's an even bigger man.
Indeed he is, yes.
But yeah.
Where's he going to go?
Right, I think I'm going to put him over here with the 9th.
Okay, so the 9th, the veteran legion, that's going to be reinforced.
Yeah.
That's making that right wing of Richard's even stronger.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try my best to avoid that as best as possible, because they're going to be a really meat grinding right flank there to avoid. Okay, well,
that's my hope. But to be honest with you, I think I may have messed my deployment up slightly. But there we go. We'll see. It's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, there's only one place for a good Gallic commander to go. It's with his nobles. So we've got 2 noble units. Yeah. We've got the cavalry and we've got his elite veteran troops over there. I'd really like to put a bit more punch inside that cavalry. I think I will.
No.
So, yeah.
Who dares win?
I'm going to put my general in over here next door to the Helvetii cavalry on my right wing. Let's see if we can turn the Roman
That's a daring move. That's a daring move, putting him with cavalry, but we'll see what happens. Well, there we are. The scene is set. The actors are upon the stage, and the excitement is mounting as we're about to begin. What's going to happen next? Well, you'll have to wait till next time, but don't worry, we'll be back very soon indeed as this battle commences, and we will see exactly where strength and honour is going to be found on this battlefield. So thanks for watching. We hope you join us very soon as we get cracking with the battle itself.